Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo, SoonerScoop.com studios. Welcome back to the SoonerScoop.com YouTube page, and it is full-on basketball season. Obviously, a lot going on out in the college football world with the surprise retirement of Nick Saban yesterday, but Oklahoma did have a basketball game. They had a basketball game over the weekend and got a really big win over Iowa State. Since the last time that we talked to you out there, we were kind of going into that weekend and starting Big 12 play, Bob, just in terms of a real quick recap, a lot of good out of the 71-63 victory last Saturday against Iowa State.
A lot of good and a lot of good that maybe people didn't understand at the time. I think there were a lot of people like, Iowa State's not that good of a team. Why are you so excited? Like, the net ratings have said Cyclones are one of the best teams in the entire country. And then they tried to show themselves Tuesday by being the first team to knock off Houston. Like, that's a win that's going to carry weight. You know, we've mentioned that before. Providence is now slumping. Arkansas isn't even worth talking about. But that Iowa State win, quad one win that I think will stick as a quad one win the entire season.
More than anything, too, they made plays in a tight ball game late. And maybe that's just in a snapshot. Maybe that's a little bit of growth that we've seen from this basketball team that they just simply weren't getting done the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like you could copy and paste. You get to the under 4 timeout. It's a one-possession game. Where do things go from here? Usually it went down the toilet. And instead, they were trailing 58-57, going a 14-2 run, take it home. Javion McCollum, beautiful as a facilitator, not as a scorer. 3 straight possessions, 3 straight assists. OU gets the victory, and it ended up, it means so much more, even more now because of what happened Wednesday.
Particularly when you got 3 for 4 from behind the arc from Latrey Dartard. That's as we move into Wednesday night. And a loss at Fort Worth to TCU, 80-71. TCU was obviously coming off of the loss at Allen Fieldhouse, where Oklahoma heads on Saturday. We'll get to that in a second. But, this was going to be a start of a really hard week for Oklahoma with the road trips to Fort Worth and Lawrence. Just in terms of too many turnovers, a lot of foul trouble, and some spotty shooting. And those are question marks. Like, I tweeted it last night. I think that Oklahoma fans can still be frustrated with the way that you played Wednesday night.
And I was.
At the same time, big picture-wise, you were able to kind of stick things together as ugly as it may have been. There's no way that team should have been down just 6 at halftime.
Yeah, but the problem is some of these issues keep coming up.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, they're fixable, but they haven't been fixed.
Sure.
The trouble is with the shooting. They can get scoring, but they don't have the shooting. The trouble is with the foul trouble. This has been a constant problem now. We're only 2 games into the conference season, but this is going to be an issue.
Particularly both losses.
Yes. So something's going to have to change here. And I will ask Porter Friday. I'm going to say, where do you stand right now with Caden Cooper and Luke Northweather? You're going to have to go 10 deep. You're talking
about expanding the just players in general when somebody like a Sam Godwin or a John Hughley, who had a really good night on Wednesday, get into that early foul trouble. And particularly Godwin, I thought foul number 2 and foul number 3, those are just ticky-tack things that as you learn and as you're expected to play more minutes in a game, you got to be able to avoid.
They've got to be able to do that. And then even with Suarez and Ortega both getting in foul trouble,
sure,
that opens the door for maybe Caden Cooper trying to get some time. But this 8-man rotation that we've loved talking about, eight starters, the depth is great. All you need is like 1 or 2 pieces to have 3 fouls in the first half, and we've seen how far it can fall off track. And you mentioned Hughley. That was a funny part of the game where they took him out in the second half. Godwin picks up number 4 like 30 seconds after. Hughley is gassed. Nothing left. And Porter's like, you've got to go in there. And that is, that's epitomizes what their issue is going to be.
Javion McCollum, 17 points, 5 for 9 from behind the arc, but it was the early turnovers that really dug themselves a hole. The 6 turnovers in the first half, 5 actual turnovers. You had the offensive foul, which I thought was an awful call and really kind of changed the momentum of the first half, gave TCU a little bit of room to breathe. Just in terms of everybody else, though, the shooting is going to be, it's something that we've talked about here on the YouTube show, something we've talked about on the Unofficial 40. Outside of Javion McCollum last night, you go 2 for 16, and particularly the 2 guys that we've talked about time and time again, and we're going to continue talking about them. Rivaldo Suarez goes 0 for 3, and let's just simply put it this way. Latrey Dartard had a night to forget in Fort Worth, going 0 for 6 from 3.
Going back home. He had like more than 20 or 30 people because he's from Fort Worth. So I don't know if that played a role into it. But, yeah, when he gets those wide open looks, goes 3 for 4, like we mentioned last Saturday, goes 0 for 6 Wednesday. No, he's not going to turn like the tide of the game. But if they can't make those open looks, you can't keep people honest, you see what happens. Now, again, they still play tight, like really tough defense, and that's why they're still on they're still on the floor. But those guys can't go 0 for 9 from 3 when the looks they have suggest they got to go at least like 4 or 5.
There was a bunch of open shots. It wasn't like they were throwing up a bunch of contested threes, and I think that was probably a point of concern, and it's going to be a point of concern here moving forward. Following the game on Wednesday night, Porter Moser spoke with Toby Rowland on the Oklahoma broadcast, post-game style, just kind of talking about what he saw in the Oklahoma loss.
You know, we didn't play well enough to win. There's a small margin of error, and I thought our guys fought. They battled. We didn't play. We made some low IQ plays. I mean, we got caught on we just came out at the end of the timeout at the end of the half and talked about a switch, and we didn't switch, and they went in for a layup. Same play, same thing happened. They called the timeout. They came out of a timeout, and we were supposed to switch, and we didn't. They went in. So we fouled jump shooters. That's not a high IQ thing. I thought we responded. We turned it over a lot. I love Javion. Javion had 6 turnovers at half, and we said to him, Javion, you got to be stronger with the ball in the second half. And he didn't pout. He didn't like, go, man, coach is on me. He came out. He had 0 in the second half. Came out right away, and it's everything you want. We got to get everybody on that same page. I thought, when you play a team this good on the road, there's smaller margins of error, and I just thought we fouled jump shooters. We missed some assignments on D. We didn't play well enough to win, and it was still in reach. So that's what's frustrating.
Frustrating night, obviously, for Oklahoma as they lose their first conference game, and with the Kansas game coming up. But let's talk about Egal Oweh. He entered the conference play, leading Oklahoma in scoring, had the 2 early fouls last Saturday against Iowa State, never seemed to really get going, showed up at the end. We talked to Porter Moser about that on Tuesday. At the same time, this is now 2 games in a row where you're really needing more from him offensively, aren't you?
Yeah, you are, and he's getting into foul trouble both games, and whatever reason, he just couldn't make a layup Wednesday. I don't know what happened. He had some strong moves. I think there were 3 of them. Yeah. 3 of them. It's just, that's 6 points you're leaving on the doorstep right there, and that can change the flow of the game. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to need him to clearly wake up. I think, what we've mentioned time and time again is his maturity. Like, this won't affect him. We'll see. If this truly is not affecting him, come Saturday in Lawrence, he will be just fine.
Is Porter Moser worried about Egal Oweh in his sophomore season with Oklahoma? He was asked of that by Toby Rowland after the game on Wednesday night.
He's just got to stay the course. He's an outstanding player, and love him. And you got to know how to play when they got a target on your back. You can't get down. You can't get, that he's earned that. He's played so well. He's earned that respect. And with that comes knowing how to play with that. And if he's not making a couple shots, he's got to keep defending and rebound. But I have 0 concerns for him. Ortega is a key part of our team. He just got to keep his mojo right when they're coming at him. And there's a lot of ways to help win a game. There's rebounding. There's defense. There's making the right play. And but he's a vital part of what we're doing. We need him to play like he's been playing. He will because he's going to work, and we're going to all be there for him. And that's what happens when he's earned that respect with the target on his back.
Porter Moser after the game Wednesday night on the Sooner Sports Network talking with Toby Rowland. And so now we move on. 13-2, you're 1-1 in conference play. I think that there was a lot of people out there, particularly on Wednesday night, that are pushing the panic button. I don't think that I'm certainly in that regard, but you knew this was going to be a tough stretch. Now you go to a place that Oklahoma simply hasn't had a lot of success.
And a Kansas team that just got shocked itself. You did not see them go in Central Florida, especially the way they were up 8 at halftime.
Sure.
Thought, all right.
It was up by 15 at one point in the first half after falling behind 7-0, and then the onslaught by Central Florida. I thought Kansas was awful in the second half.
Yeah, they definitely were. So, they're going to come home fired up. I thought that was like the worst thing that could have happened because Kansas has played so well that you say, okay, then maybe they're due for a letdown. Maybe it could have been OU.
Sure.
But if you have that in the second half in Orlando, now you know you can come back to Lawrence fired up when we know OU has not won there since 1993.
Weird things happen on the road in college basketball. I think Purdue learned that lesson. Houston learned that lesson. Oklahoma learned that lesson. Kansas learned that lesson. Tennessee learned that lesson. Marquette even lost at home on Wednesday night as well. Life on the road in the Big 12 doesn't get any easier. We talked to Porter Moser as well as Javen McCollum and Jalen Moore about that.
I feel like it helps because, the ACC is a tough conference. So, shoot, I feel like it helps as far as just knowing the level of play you got to be at and how you got to come with it every game and shoot every possession. So I feel like it helps.
Hey, it's gonna be physical. Like I said, every night. We can't worry about what the refs are calling. We just gotta stay locked in, stay connected with each other, and like I said, possession by possession.
We talk about communication on the road. That's one big thing we do talk about. Is our communication when it's loud against us, that we got to stay poised. We will talk about that. And that's the biggest thing is these venues are so extreme that you've got to communicate. And what do you do when a run's against you and their crowd's going against you? What's a good possession? Good possession isn't trying to take an 8-point shot. There's no 8-point shots. That's what happens sometimes when you get in these situations where you get down and one guy's like, I want to win, and I try to do it all myself, and then there's no 8-point shot. You need good possessions, good leadership, and communication, that everybody's on the same page. That is the one thing we will talk about on the road, is that.
It's going to be a huge statement. These are two big games for us. We got TCU and Kansas. What more can you ask for? It's the Big 12. So every night's going to be hard, but we're going in with a mindset willing to win.
The key is just, shoot, I feel like for our team, our key is staying mentally tough, is just being connected. We all feed off each other's energy as a team, so I feel like each person's energy, when one person's energy isn't up here today, you got a teammate that's also going to come in and pick you up. So I feel like that for us is just us staying connected to keep us mentally tough.
That's all I heard, Fieldhouse. So, hey, I can't wait to get out there, see the atmosphere, and ready to get a win.
Is it kind of crazy to think that you will be playing in that
place?
It
is crazy because I always watch it on TV, never thinking I would be here. So, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I am. I'm excited to play any game. I love the game of basketball, and my team loves the game of basketball. So, yeah, I'm excited for sure.
The legend of the Phog. I'm fired up for it.
I've never been.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's no other way to say it. It's one of the cathedrals of college basketball. Coming up Saturday at 1:00, and so you move on. You talk about resiliency. You talk about being able to not get blown out. I thought that there were some runs throughout the night on Wednesday that thing could have gone kind of like the North Carolina game. My feelings out of this game Wednesday night are similar to North Carolina, just in that you played terribly, and I didn't think that TCU played all too well. I've said it on the Unofficial 40. I think that TCU is a team that could certainly be one of those veteran groups that you look it up in the middle of March and saying this team is about to make a run. At the same time, you did see Oklahoma. They were able to battle back a couple times in the second half. They're just the poor shooting and just not being able to execute, it seemed like, on the offensive end.
It was the same story a little bit, like against Tar Heels. It was McCollum catching fire late, but it's way too little. So
Sure.
I don't know how you got to balance that out, but he comes out, you're down 40-34, back-to-back threes. Now we're tied at 40.
Sure.
Then the Frogs scored the next 7. OU's never really able to get within that barometer rest of the way. But then you're down 17, and McCollum catches fire again. It's like, well, what happened between the stretch? You've got to be more involved throughout the other phases of the game, too.
There was a period during that late run by Oklahoma. I had already sent out the nothing is effed tweet, and then I was like, oh, God, am I going to have to delete this if they come back and put together a miracle? The one positive, and there were a lot more probably than just one, but we've seen Milos Uzan here over the last couple games starting to become more and more comfortable, I think is probably the best way to say it, and particularly on Wednesday night in Fort Worth, 13.7 rebounds, 10 assists, nearly a triple-double.
Yeah, Los has been tremendous ever since we've hit 2024. There was just, when the season first started, him, McCollum, like, how's Javion going to adjust? Instead of, how's Los going to adjust? Javion's doing just fine. He's still himself. He's still using his speed. He's still, getting his speed into the game, as Porter would love to say, but Los looked a little lost a couple of those games. He didn't know where he really fit in. He's found his role. He's playing it very, very well. You can see the confidence. And, flirting with a triple-double. I mean, that's just something that we haven't seen from him since he's been here, and we haven't seen from an OU player in a long, long time.
No doubt about it. Porter Moser, as well as his backcourt mate, Javier McCollum, talked about Milos Uzan.
I've seen it in the last 3 weeks. He's just he's Los now. The ball's got eyes. It's finding the right guys. And when that happens, then your shot feels better. And I just think he's really, really coming into his own, playing. It's amazing. Like, he's such a strength of seeing the ball and the ball getting to where it goes. And I just see his confidence growing and growing, and that's just a great sign for us.
Man, he's a great passer. He's a great leader. He can shoot the ball. He can score the ball. I've learned a lot from him. He learned a lot from me. I learned some passes that he's made. He's learned some IQ from me. I mean, it goes both ways. So he's a great player to play with.
So the next four, Bob, for Oklahoma, coming up, got Kansas on Saturday at 1 o'clock, ESPN Plus, and then things kind of calm down, but not really, because you return home next Wednesday to play West Virginia, and then you're right back out on the road next Saturday to go to Cincinnati, only to return home to play Texas and Texas Tech to wrap up the month. Just in terms of kind of navigating this stretch, what do you expect from Oklahoma?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you could get one in Allen Fieldhouse. You don't expect it. But
Sure.
West Virginia needs to be 20 to 30 point dominance. You can't
30-point dominance in college basketball?
Did you see what Houston did to
It's
them?
college basketball, Bob.
You're at home. Just take care of
This
business.
is insane.
You got to do. That's what you got to do against that type of team this year.
You need a comfortable win.
They don't have
Sure.
the horses this year. Put it on them so that you have this confidence going into Cincinnati, because that's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's
That's
a
gonna
really
be
good club.
Really tough game, and that's one of those swing games. We talk about trying to steal one on the road. Cincinnati's
Sure.
one of those. Like, I don't
Sure.
expect it, but you can. There's no doubt you can definitely do it. But this is a stretch where it's just, as Porter would love to say, we got to get better. You want to see them look better than what they did Wednesday. That might not mean a win on Saturday, even if you play better. It might not mean a win, but at least you're going with each game progressing the way that you want to.
Very good. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited. We will be up in Lawrence on Saturday for OU Kansas, and might even have to do an instant reaction if things go somewhat well. Let's keep perspective on things. But, Bob, thank you for joining us right back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel for the Hoops Report. It will be a very interesting next couple months as Oklahoma enters to Big 12 play, and obviously Big 12's really, really good. So until next time, for Bob, I'm Eddie. We'll see you right back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel.